You don't lose power because you lack talent. You lose it because you leak. Because the world doesn't need to break you, only to read you. And emotions are the clearest handwriting you'll ever give an enemy. Your emotions are signals, primitive alarms, designed to force movement before thought. Anger says, strike. Fear says, retreat. Shame says, explain yourself. And if you obey fast enough, you won't even notice you've been commanded. That is how most people are ruled, by the instant chemical verdicts inside their own bodies. Anger makes them loud, fear makes them honest, desire makes them generous to the wrong people, shame makes them explain themselves, and the world learns a simple truth about them. Push here, and they move. Here is the rule Machiavelli would give you without mercy. The world doesn't punish feelings, it punishes displays. The moment you show agitation, you announce insecurity. The moment you defend yourself, you confirm the accusation matters. The moment you rush to be understood, you hand over your tempo, and whoever controls your tempo decides where you end up. So turning off your emotions isn't about becoming cold. That's what weak people try, freezing themselves until they shatter. It isn't about becoming a statue either. Statues get toppled. It's about insulation, a private room inside your mind where emotions can scream and still not be heard outside, where anger becomes data, fear becomes a signal, desire becomes a note, not a directive. You feel everything. You reveal nothing. You delay reaction until reaction becomes decision. So here's the open question that will decide how dangerous you become. When your emotions rise, do they serve your strategy or do they serve your enemies? Comment down below. Let's begin. Your emotions are not the enemy. Your obedience to them is. Most people believe the lie that emotion is truth. If they feel insulted, then they were insulted. If they feel afraid, then danger must be real. If they feel offended, then retaliation is justified. This is how the world trains you into predictability. Because the instant your feeling becomes your action, you become a lever anyone can pull. Machiavelli understood something brutal. The fastest way to control a man is to control his reactions, and the fastest way to control your reactions is to create distance inside yourself. Not time on the clock, distance in the mind. The first discipline is simple and unforgiving. You are allowed to feel, but you are not allowed to move. When anger rises, do not speak. When shame rises, do not explain. When desire rises, do not chase. When fear rises, do not confess. You hold the sensation like a weapon you refuse to swing until you've chosen the target. Here is what this does to the room. It forces everyone else to reveal themselves. The attacker expects you to flinch, to defend, to escalate. When you don't, they overcommit. They say more. They show the insecurity beneath the provocation. The manipulator expects an emotional payment. Guilt, reassurance, urgency. When you don't pay, they become desperate, and desperation has a smell. It makes people sloppy. This is not calmness. Calmness can be a personality. This is strategy. Practice the pause as a private law. Emotion must report to reason before it touches the world. In that pause, you ask only 3 questions. What do I want from this situation? What would an emotional reaction cost me? What action makes me harder to control? Answer those, and your emotions become intelligence instead of impulses. You stop being a creature of reflex and become an author of outcomes. And once you can separate feeling from action, you've already done what most never do. You've made yourself unpredictable. Power begins the moment people cannot read you. Most men leak their inner life through their expression. Their eyes widen when they're surprised. Their jaw tightens when they're threatened. Their smile arrives too early when they want approval. They think they're being honest. In reality, they're handing out instructions. A face is a map, and the world studies maps. Machiavelli's dark method here is not to become expressionless like a statue. That kind of emptiness draws suspicion. The method is subtler. You replace spontaneous emotion with deliberate signal. You decide what your face means, and you repeat it until it becomes believable. Because perception is not a reflection of truth. Perception is a weapon. If you look wounded, you invite predators and saviors. If you look angry, you invite resistance. If you look eager, you invite delay and price hikes. If you look uncertain, you invite counsel you didn't request and commands disguised as advice. So you build a mask with 3 qualities: calm, slow, and slightly amused. Calm tells them you're not movable. Slow tells them you're not rushable. Slight amusement tells them you're not impressed. This combination is poison to manipulators. They need you tense. They need you urgent. They need you desperate to be understood. You refuse the entire economy. When they provoke you, you do not give them heat. You give them space. You let silence stretch until they feel the weight of their own words. The mask becomes a mirror. They see themselves more clearly than they intended, and they start correcting, backtracking, bargaining. And notice what happens inside you when you do this. Your emotions lose oxygen. Anger feeds on expression. Fear feeds on visible panic. Desire feeds on pursuit. When you don't express, the feeling is forced to burn privately without turning into a public event. This is the hidden advantage. You are not suppressing emotions. You are containing them long enough to choose their use. Your face is not where your truth lives. Your face is where your strategy speaks. Emotions are currency. Most people spend them the moment they receive them. A slight becomes anger. A compliment becomes attachment. A cold tone becomes insecurity. They pay immediately and then wonder why they're always broke in power. Machiavelli's darker method is to impose a tax on your own emotions. Not moral judgment, cost. You create a rule. No emotion is allowed to leave your body until it has aged, because fresh emotion is not insight. Fresh emotion is a spark looking for gasoline. So you delay. When you feel the urge to respond, you don't. You draft nothing. You send nothing. You make no promises, no threats, no confessions. You let the impulse sit long enough to rot or mature. In that time, something important happens. The situation gives you more information. People reveal motive. Patterns emerge. The real game becomes visible. Delay is not passivity. Delay is domination. The impatient person is controllable. They can be provoked into mistakes. They can be baited into saying too much. They can be pulled into deadlines that benefit someone else. The one who delays forces the other side to carry the tension alone. They start negotiating with themselves. They start offering incentives. They start showing fear. And that's the point. Your silence is not emptiness. It is pressure. Here is the practice. When emotion rises, choose one of 3 delays. The tactical pause. Count slowly, breathe once, and speak only after you can summarize the situation in 1 sentence. The strategic night. Wait until you've slept. If it still matters in the morning, it's real. If it fades, it was bait. The power window. Give yourself a set time, 1 hour, 1 day, before any reaction that changes status. Resignations, confrontations, declarations, love, war. During the delay, you do one thing. You decide what outcome you want, not what you want to say, not what you want to prove. Outcome. Because emotions crave expression, but power craves results. When you make emotion expensive to spend, you stop hemorrhaging authority in small moments, and you begin collecting something rarer than calm. You begin collecting control. You cannot turn off emotion while living inside a machine designed to harvest it. Some people do not speak to you to understand you. They speak to extract a reaction. They poke your pride, your guilt, your fear, your need to be seen. They are not enemies in the dramatic sense. They are worse. They are farmers. They plant discomfort and collect your impulse as profit. An apology, a confession, a promise, an outburst, a chase. Every time you react, you teach them the exact temperature of your nervous system. And once someone knows what moves you, they can move you whenever it benefits them. Machiavelli would not tell you to heal around such people. He would tell you to Reorganize your environment. Like a ruler reorganizes a court. Reward what strengthens you, exile what weakens you. The dark method is simple. Starve the trigger. First, identify the feeders, the ones who bring chaos and then watch your face, the ones who joke to test your boundaries, the ones who create urgency that never needed to exist, the ones who disappear until you chase, the ones who act offended when you don't. They are training you into a predictable animal. Then you change the terms. You become slower with them, polite but distant. You stop offering explanations. Stop volunteering your inner state. Stop rushing to restore harmony. You respond with less, and you watch what happens. Healthy people accept it. Emotional farmers escalate. They guilt you. They provoke you. They create a crisis. Good. Crisis reveals the contract. If their closeness depends on your emotional payments, then what they want is not you, it's access, and you revoke it. Not with dramatic exits, not with speeches. You withdraw in increments like a state cutting off supplies to a rebel city. Less availability, less intimacy, less exposure. They will either adjust or attack. Either outcome gives you clarity. This is not cruelty, this is sovereignty, because turning off your emotions is not merely an internal skill, it is also an external policy. You stop giving your nervous system to people who treat it like entertainment. In the end, your calm will not come from discipline alone. It will come from choosing a world that no longer profits from your reaction. If you want to turn off emotion, you must stop treating it like a king. Treat it like a witness. A witness can be useful. A witness can also lie, exaggerate, misremember, or speak from panic. But most people don't interrogate their feelings. They accept the first testimony as reality, then act on it as if it were law. That is not living. That is being governed. Machiavelli's method was always the same. Create an internal court, not a therapy circle, a tribunal. When emotion rises, you do not ask, "How do I express this?" You ask, "What is this trying to make me do, and who benefits if I do it?" Because emotions are not neutral. They arrive with an agenda. Anger often wants you to destroy a relationship you should instead restructure. Fear wants you to shrink, even when shrinking makes you a target. Guilt wants you to overpay, even when you owe nothing. Desire wants you to rush, even when patience would raise your value. So you cross-examine, you name the emotion without romance. This is anger. This is anxiety. This is craving. Then you separate it from your identity. You are not angry. Anger is present. Now the trial begins with 3 questions. What story is this emotion telling me? What evidence do I actually have? What is the strategic interpretation that keeps me in control? This is how you break the spell, because emotion survives on total belief. The moment you examine it, it loses its divine status and becomes information. And here's the darker truth. Your emotions are often echoes of older battles, childhood humiliations, past betrayals, previous losses. The present merely resembles the past, and your body reacts as if it's happening again. If you don't put that reaction on trial, you will punish people for crimes they haven't committed and surrender advantages you haven't even noticed. A ruler does not execute on accusation alone. A ruler gathers intelligence, measures timing, chooses response. When you build an internal court, you don't become numb. You become precise. And precision is what emotion has always feared most. You cannot kill emotion. You can only decide where it's allowed to live. If you try to turn off everything, it doesn't disappear. It mutates. It leaks into your tone, your sleep, your appetite, your decisions. It turns into passive aggression, sudden fatigue, irrational contempt. That isn't control, that is corrosion. So Machiavelli's darker method is not suppression. It is containment through ritual. A ruler does not allow riots in the streets. He also does not pretend the population has no hunger. He creates channels, festivals, courts, work. He gives the energy a place to go that does not threaten the throne. You do the same. You create a private outlet where emotion is permitted to speak freely, but only under your terms, never in the moment of provocation, never in front of an audience, never in a way that changes your position. Your outlet must have 3 features: solitude, structure, and repetition. Solitude, because emotion becomes performance the moment someone is watching. Structure, because chaos invites escalation. Repetition, because consistency trains the nervous system into obedience. This can be writing 1 page with a strict rule: no blaming, only facts and desired outcomes. It can be physical exertion with a fixed endpoint: a run, a session, a cold shower. It can be a timed inventory: 10 minutes, where you name what you feel, why it arrived, what it wants, and what you will do instead. The purpose is not to feel better. The purpose is to keep your emotional energy from being used against you. Because the world is full of people who will happily provide you a stage for your weakness: a fight, a dramatic text, a public breakdown, a confession at the wrong time. They will call it honesty. They will call it passion. They will call it healing. But what they really want is evidence that you can be moved. So you give your emotions a private room, not a public microphone. You let them exist, then you leave that room as the same person you were before, calm, unreadable, and strategically intact. The last weakness is the most personal one. You don't just feel emotions. You defend them. You call them who you are. You call them your values. You call them your heart. And because you've tied emotion to identity, any challenge to your feelings becomes a challenge to yourself. That is why people become irrational. That is why they escalate. That is why they would rather be right than powerful. Machiavelli's final switch is colder: detach emotion from identity and attach it to consequence. Meaning, you do not ask, what do I feel, and what does that say about me? You ask, what does this feeling make likely, and do I accept that price? This is the difference between a subject and a sovereign. A subject says, I'm angry, so I must respond. A sovereign says, anger is present. If I respond now, I lose position. If I wait, I gain leverage. You reframe emotions as forecasts. Fear is a forecast. It predicts loss. Sometimes it's accurate. Sometimes it's a phantom. You test it with facts. Anger is a forecast. It predicts disrespect or threat. Sometimes it's real. Sometimes it's pride masquerading as principle. Desire is a forecast. It predicts reward. Sometimes it's aligned. Sometimes it's a trap with a beautiful face. When you treat emotions as forecasts, you stop worshiping them. You start using them. And then you install the final rule, the one that turns the method from practice into nature. No emotion earns expression unless it improves your outcome. Not your comfort, not your catharsis, your outcome. This does something terrifying to your life. It removes the audience from your inner world. You stop trying to be understood by people who benefit from misunderstanding you. You stop explaining. You stop pleading. You stop overcorrecting your image. You become quiet in the way rulers are quiet. And when you do choose to show emotion, warmth, anger, disappointment, it lands with force because it is rare, timed, and intentional. That is the dark method in its pure form. You don't turn off your emotions. You turn off their authority. When you truly master your emotions, something unsettling becomes possible. You can display them without being ruled by them. Most people think emotions are spontaneous explosions of authenticity. Machiavelli would call that the behavior of someone who has never held power. In any serious arena, emotion is theater, not fake-directed, calibrated, timed, meant to shape perception, not confess truth. Here is the principle. If you cannot choose when to show emotion, others will choose for you. So you learn the cold performance. You practice 3 expressions like instruments. Controlled warmth, used to recruit loyalty, soften resistance, and lower suspicion. It makes people feel safe around you, which makes them careless. It is not affection as surrender. It is affection as architecture. Measured disappointment, more powerful than anger. Anger creates a fight, disappointment creates a void. It tells the other person they have fallen in your estimation quietly, cleanly. Most will scramble to regain status. You never had to raise your voice. Rare fury, reserved for a single purpose, boundary enforcement when a lesson must be permanent. It must be short, precise, and unmistakable. A storm that ends quickly is remembered longer than constant thunder. But if you use it often, it becomes noise, and you become predictable again. The key is that none of this is acting to deceive. It is governance. You are governing the emotional climate of your environment, the way a ruler governs the streets, by deciding what is allowed to spread, what must be contained, and what must be punished. And here is the darker advantage. Once people believe your displays are your nature, they stop looking for the levers. They assume you are simply calm, simply warm, simply hard. They don't realize it's a switch. You do. This chapter is the end of the method. Emotions are no longer storms you endure. They are signals you deploy. Your interior can burn or freeze, and the exterior remains chosen. That is not numbness. That is command. You came here because you're tired of being pulled. Tired of saying things you regret because someone knew exactly how to press you. Tired of feeling your power leak out through your face, your voice, your need to be understood. You thought the problem was your temper, your sensitivity, your anxiety. It wasn't. The problem was access. Your emotions were never too strong. They were simply too available. Now you understand the darker truth. The world does not reward honesty of feeling. It rewards control of appearance. It rewards timing. It rewards the person who can watch the room panic and remain still enough to choose the ending. This is what you've built. A pause between stimulus and action. A mask that teaches them nothing. A delay that forces others to reveal themselves. An environment that stops farming your reactions. A tribunal that interrogates every feeling before it becomes reality. A ritual that drains emotion privately, so it never spills publicly. A switch that ties expression to consequence. And finally, a performance so cold and deliberate, it turns emotion into a tool. You are not becoming less human. You are becoming harder to manage. And that will offend the people who benefited from your openness. Let them be offended. Their discomfort is proof that something has changed in the balance of power. If you want to keep sharpening this blade, if you want to move through the world with the kind of calm that makes others second-guess themselves, then you will commit. Subscribe, like, and return. This is not entertainment. This is initiation.